Hi guys, Bran here, and welcome to a different kind of video today. I wanted to really avoid making a video about this because, well, that is something that, as we will discuss, comes with a lot of volatility and a lot of arguments and a lot of very heavy emotional weight that gets thrown around. And I don't like that. Life is short and I want to spend it not stressed. But I've never been one to shy away from making videos about things in the community that are volatile and often toxic and unhealthy for the community. If anything, that's kind of my bread and butter, is making videos talking about the state of Dead by Daylight, and that includes the community aspect. So this is I'm probably going to make a lot of videos about this because, well, like I said, I really don't want to deal with the intensity and volatility of the subject in question, but I do want to make at least one video kind of putting all my thoughts in one place. So without further ado, we're going to talk about what's up with Skull Merchant mains. So you may be wondering where this video come from because, well, Skull Merchant has not had any like measurable changes in a while. So why am I talking about this now? Well, I have been recently in the past like couple months on a quest on my own time to kind of divulge what could be the counterplay to Skull Merchant, because Skull Merchant, if you do not know, despite the fact that she got reworked into a much less terrible version of herself, still lacks a lot in the way of counterplay. So I've been watching stuff like Pixel Bush's Skull Merchant guide and trying to look at other Skull Merchant players to try and understand like what should I do in ABC situation, because so far it seems like she just kind of just goes berserk. This led to me having a lot of conversations with my Twitch streams, because my Twitch stream community is very much made up of people who play characters with low play rates. Obviously, Xenomorph has a very, very low play rate as well. Like, we generally, as my Twitch community, play a lot of the like not so played killers. And obviously, I have a lot of Skull Merchant mains in my chat. So I tried to have more than once the conversation of like, okay, well, if I understand in general you're supposed to avoid being in the lights because the light rays are what cause you to get the claw traps, and of course you should do that. But what happens if she W's at you while you're in it and it's like, I can't get an answer? Like, usually the conversation very starkly stops at a certain point, because I go, okay, well, I get that I'm supposed to move between the rays. And that can be varying levels of difficult depending on where I'm at on the map. Is there line of sight blockers? If she decides to, you know, reverse the rays, there's a lot that goes into that. But like, if she's just Wing at you while that's happening, do you have an option there? And that's usually where the, you know, either things get quiet, but secondly, the thing that spawned this video is people get very mad. People get very upset. It even gets to the point where some people are even like shouting. Like, they're literally like yelling in all caps at me about my feelings about the character. And I think that's funny, and that's going to be a good segue into our next section, is that I don't have feelings about this character. Obviously, during her original incarnation, where she could just put drone over gen and guard a 3-gen and have hour-long matches, yeah, of course I hated her, but I don't think that's a biased take. I feel like that was everybody. I feel like it was everybody besides the people that made that character. But once they changed her back, she just kind of ended up in that other zone of like many other different characters that just kind of, I put me at one end and you at the other, and you lose for free. She's not the first character to be like this. Does she do it better than the other ones? Yeah, but she's definitely not the first character to me put one thing at one place and me at the other. Obviously Knight probably being the second character that comes to mind when you think of this, but to some minimal extent other characters have it, like Artist, like Dredge. It's just kind of like an archetype in the game, and I've always talked about how like I don't like playing those or against those because I want the game to be more complex than that. But in terms of the character itself, in her current form, she's not special or different in really any way. She has been inducted into that new group of that me go here and me put thing here and you go against me, and we sandwich you into an attack. But otherwise, unremarkable. I think generally, like, her as a character lore wise, it's kind of like a mixed bag, because the idea of like an opulent rich woman who's like businesswoman by day, cold-hearted killer by night is a very, very interesting concept. It's one of the things that when I was a kid drew me to Deathstroke, the character. Deathstroke and like more modern DC is way different than he used to be. He used to be kind of more of like anti-Batman. He even had his own butler, so he kind of fit more of this Skull Merchant-esque kind of like rich entrepreneur by day and then, you know, killer by night. But there's also really problematic stuff, like, well, not problematic, but just kind of just bad stuff, like her taking her persona off of her father's manga, and how just ugly her default is with the bedazzle and mask, her cyberpunk fit is probably just should have been her default, because that thing is unironically one of the best cosmetics in the game. It is that retractable blade, the Mantis blade, that is probably the coolest looking weapon to have Stabifilon in the game. It probably just should have been her default, but that's not what we got. We got the default instead. I think I want to reiterate too, is that the point of the video is not like, does Skull Merchant have counterplay versus not? I don't think she has a tremendous amount, but not an egregious lack compared to other killers of the same vein, because it does boil down to a lot of killers just being, I just hold W to get out of here, which is also not consistent counterplay, because can you hold W out of here is like just dependent on where you are in the map and map RNG. So, but she's not like the first or the last character that will have that situation. Obviously, we had up until recently Scamper Chucky, who just slid under a pallet and M1'd you for free that way. So yeah, it's definitely character powers like that are not uncommon. But the point of the video is, why is it met with such volatility, and why are Skull Merchant mains so intense when it comes to defending their character? I think for me, I definitely main a character that's extremely oppressive. I mean the Xenomorph, and they have a very, very complex counterplay, and in some cases very little counterplay. The tail attack has a wind up, but it's only 0.4 seconds, which is very, very difficult to react to. The turrets are complex. They're not easy to use. So even though those do serve as good counterplay, most players don't know how to use them well. They don't know how to put them as body blocks for chase. They don't know how to put two together so you can knock the Xenomorph out of its power. They don't know how to really play against this character, so it makes for a pretty nasty experience, which makes the Xenomorph pretty oppressive. So if somebody comes at me and is like, bro, the Xenomorph has like 0 counterplay, dude, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, they're very oppressive. They're very, very strong. Have you tried putting 2 turrets together to knock them out of the power? Did you notice that the attack actually does have a windup that's like visual and auditory? I like try to mention that stuff, and if they still decide like, hey, like, no, I say that they just have 0 counterplay and there's no changing my mind, I'm like, okay, all right, I tried, you just didn't want to listen, and I just go about my day, right? I don't take it personally, because I am not the Xenomorph. I know the appearances may deceive, but I am not actually the Xenomorph. So, you know, if they didn't want to listen, they didn't want to listen. It's fine. It's whatever. And I get where they're coming from, because yeah, the character is tremendously oppressive. Is the statement that they have 0 counterplay true? No, but I get the general sentiment, the grain of truth in there, and I empathize with the fact that yeah, it is hard to play against this character. It's very, very difficult. So it may lead to exaggerated statements like that. But it seems when I try to have this same kind of conversation with Skull Merchant mains, they vehemently defend that she has loads of counterplay. I have heard very, very out there statements like, you can never get claw trapped if you don't want to, which I guess is true, but like, I think the asterisk that they're leaving out, the elephant in the room, is that yeah, you may not get claw trapped, but you will get M1'd. you will get M1'd in a lot of situations. The statement of just dance through the rays is like, the way it's phrased is really funny, but that has a lot of credence to it, because like, yeah, you should be avoiding the rays, right? You should be not running for through those if you can help it. If you can get line of sight blockers, absolutely use those. Be on the lookout for her to reverse the rays, that sort of stuff. You should absolutely be doing that. Is that foolproof when she's breathing down your neck? Absolutely not. But there's obviously the crouching thing as well, and obviously if you're not in chase, crouching up to the drone makes absolute sense, but you can't really do that mid chase. So like, I don't know. It's like where do these outrageous statements come from? Where it's like, you can never be claw trapped if you don't want to be. Like, where does that come from? And why do players that seem to enjoy this character so much vehemently defend her so intensely? And it extends even further to these kind of like, just like very, very like extreme, strange arguments to like actively like getting mad and getting frustrated. Like I opened this video with, I've had people yell at me in all caps about it. I have had people get very aggressive about it. And it's almost like they're defending a friend or a person they know instead of just a character in a video game. Like I said, with the Xenomorph, if somebody goes, yeah, I hate Xenomorph, they're super oppressive in chase, I'm like, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Have you tried doing this though? And then that's where I leave it, right? I would never yell at anybody over like the character that I main, because it's not that deep. It's not that important, right? Like I go, I can see where you're coming from. Did you try this at least? And that's it. That's all I do with that. But Skull Merchant mains will like come after you if you like dare insult their character in any way. and try to take you down and disprove you in every way. And if we travel through every avenue that, you know, quote unquote, I'm supposed to be disproven on, then like I'm just being mean, I'm being unfair, I'm being biased. And it's like, it's not that deep. I mean, I always think, this is an aside, this doesn't really have anything to do with this video. Well, it kind of does. I always find it weird when people like refer to the characters as their first names when they're bringing this up, and it's always like a red flag to me that something weird's about to happen. Specifically with this, I hear a lot of people go, my Adriana. like she's not Skullmerchant, she's like, my Adriana, and I'm like, uh-oh. They're on a first name basis. I better not say anything bad. They're friends on Facebook. Like, I don't know, I get scared. They're mutuals on Twitter. Yeah, I think that this video has already been longer than it needs to be, and I know it's a little bit more ranty, but you know, I was trying to be a little bit more honest with my feelings and not be so like rehearsed. That way you got like the actual point of what I'm trying to say. But even if that's still gone, the point of what I'm trying to say is like, I'm just confused as to why Skullmerchant mains are so intense with the way that they go about, like, why do they so intensely defend their character? Why is the Skullmerchant enjoyer community like so, it almost seems like it's like a movement, like it's like a social movement. We must get people enjoying Skullmerchant. We must take down the disenjoyers. Like it's like a social movement, and I don't know why that is. It almost strikes me as weird as the like the Hattie thing. Like, Hattie's been forgotten for cosmetics. Behavior hates her. We need to rally together to get Hattie cosmetics. And it's like, why did that become a social movement? Why was that a thing? I mean Jeff Johansson it until last year when we had like 0 cosmetics. He had like a handful of sets and that was it. like I wouldn't start a social movement and yell at people because Jeff didn't have cosmetics. But I don't know, I just generally don't understand why the Skullmerchant community is like so intense in defending and caring about their character to the point where they're willing to yell and shout and, you know, hurt other people's feelings over a video game character. Like, it seems to be a thing that these people have that I just don't get it. And that's kind of where I want to levy you guys, is like, have you guys experienced this out there? What do you do in those situations? And like, why do you think this is a thing? Because I think I don't have a horse in this race. I don't care about Skullmerchant, but just like something as simple as going, okay, well, like, you say that's a counterplay situation, but like, what do I do if she's just running at me at the same time? Apparently that's enough to rock the boat and make me a Skullmerchant hater. And I'm like, I don't hate this character. I think she's like, we have so many characters that are just like me at one end, you at the other. Like, they're not my favorite, but like, I don't hate her. But I get labeled a Skullmerchant here just because I want to know these things. I mean, there's not an explanation. I just get yelled at, and I'm tired of being yelled at instead of explained to. I think that's the best way I can summarize. I'm tired of being yelled at instead of explained to. So I'm just going to put out one video about it and just ride off into the sunset. Hopefully there's some interesting takeaways that I can get from you guys about it, because like I said, I'm just tired of being yelled at and treated like garbage just because I question a character in a video game, and the community wants to just, I don't know, take me to the cleaners for it. So, oh well. Hopefully you guys can fill me with insight, but that's gonna be it. This video is already long enough as it is. I appreciate y'all so much for hanging out and for watching, and I do upload daily, so we'll see you tomorrow. But if I do not, I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.